morning, everybody, and welcome to this live 2025 Oscars nominations reaction video here on the Outlaw Nation. I am John Rocha. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. I had to throw this stuff together. I don't usually wear nice clothes anymore because I really don't go to nice places that often anymore. Just pretty much my workout clothes or my hangout clothes or my nerd shirts. But I thought I'd dress up a little bit because it is the Oscars nomination. So thank you for indulging me in putting on a button-down shirt and a sweater over because it's a little cold this morning in San Diego. It's around 50 degrees, so a little cold. But I had to wear my Yankees cap because I got to look like one of those East Coast intellectuals with my glasses. Because we're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about films. We're going to talk about Oscars. We're going to talk about nominations. Oscars, Oscar. We got so much to talk about here in this, and I'm trying to keep this to an hour. Maybe it'll go a little bit longer depending on some of y'all's reactions to things. And if you want to send in Streamlabs and Superchats, those are open. You see the Streamlabs address right above my head there. You know how to send in Superchats, I'm sure. So if you have questions, thoughts, and comments as we're going along with this conversation, please make sure you send those in so I can read them and we can talk about them and maybe people will react to them in the chat as well. And of course, later on today, the Hot Mic goes live at 4 p.m. PT. We couldn't do a whole show breaking down each of those nominations because he's on FYC. I'm sure he did his thing this morning. We're going to talk about what we thought about it today at 4 p.m. PT. And I'm sure the Geek Buddies will have some comments tomorrow as well. So this is just me and you all talking about these nominations. We're going to break them down, go through them one by one, not just the big ones, not the we're not going to get into the minutia of all these nominations, but I do want to bring up, I wonder if I can find this video, because I mean this morning it was Bowen Yang and Rachel Sennett. Here it is. I mean, these two, listen, Bowen understood the assignment. It felt to me like Rachel might have been out drinking last night and just stayed up all night, or maybe she is not a morning person, because watching this video of them was hilarious to me. Let's take a look real quick and see what I'm talking about here.
Hi, good morning.
Look, her eyes are barely
Good
open.
Morning. I'm Bowen Yang.
And we are so excited to announce the 97th Oscar
Your
nomination.
nose is stuffed.
And celebrate all the filmmakers who made this year unforgettable.
Her voice is struggling.
Live at 8:30 a.m. ET, 5:30 a.m. PT, or 1:30 p.m. GMT.
It's early for us. It's really early for us.
For you too.
But we are morning people.
Yeah.
Even though it's technically night.
Right.
Is how it feels right now. Feels like nighttime.
It's Twilight.
It's Twilight.
The movie.
Witching hour.
Oh boy. So yeah, they were definitely struggling, those two, in delivering their stuff. And look, I love Rachel Sennett. I thought she was great in Saturday Night. She's one of those actresses that definitely radiates that DGAF energy. So I have a feeling that she was up last night. Bowen is still very much like, hey, I want to be accepted. I want to be part of the crew. He's got Las Culturistas, and of course he's in SNL. By the way, if you haven't watched that new SNL documentary series, absolutely highly recommend it on Peacock. It is so damn good, and Bowen is all over it. And so you see that Bowen, like, I'm still trying to be part of the crew. Rachel's like, I don't give a crap if I'm part of the crew. I'm going to sound nasally, but maybe she's sick. Maybe, the LA fires. Maybe she's walking out in that air quality situation. Who knows? But I do love Rachel Sennett, and she had the ladies out for this particular announcement and video. So I thought that was really funny to start off and kick off our situation. So let's go through some real quick facts, and then we're going to get into the big nominations and go through them and give you my thoughts on who I think is going to win, which ones are the surprises and which ones are the snubs. So let's start with this. Emilia Perez got 13 nominations in these awards nominations that were announced this morning. This puts Emilia Perez in line with Gone with the Wind and Mary Poppins, Oppenheimer, and The Shape of Water. Those all got 13 nominations. So I think a lot of people are surprised that Emilia Perez is in that conversation, especially people outside the Oscars voting bubble. It is not getting the best response, the best reception. Certainly glad, the gay rights organization over there, they had their media awards, and Emilia Perez was not nominated for any awards from them. So that speaks volumes, because they've already come out and spoken about how they don't like the way the trans storyline is represented in Emilia Perez. I think I saw the TV Glow didn't even get a nomination on the GLAAD side, I think. So, so clearly, you know, it's a little surprising. There is a massive pushback on this, not only from the Mexican community and Mexican American community and Latino community, but also from the LGBTQ plus community. So it's an interesting thing that the film got 13 nominations. Is this a Hollywood patting itself on the back because it's an artistic approach to the trans issue and this is the year we want to show that we support this stuff? Or is it legitimately what people wanted to vote for, legitimately people feel is a film worthy of 13 nominations in this award cycle for the Oscars? So really surprising that it hit that number. The Brutalist got 10 nominations, which I think is pretty cool. And let's say, so did Wicked, which a lot of people probably are surprised about to a degree. Conclave and a Complete Unknown got 8 nominations, and then it gets, I think Anora got 6, so it gets a little bit subsequently smaller as we go along. But, you know, some good, strong movies here to lead the way. A majority of the acting nominees that we're going to talk about, 13 out of the 20, it is their first time being nominated for an Oscar. So that's pretty cool to see the more variety, more, at least more of an exploration of first-time nominees, not just the retread of the same thing over and over and over again. Oh, it's Meryl Streep, let's nominate her again. Or, oh, it's Anthony Hopkins, let's nominate him again. Not that they aren't wonderful actors and certainly may deserve to be nominated every year. It's just nice to get a little new blood in the mix here. And this may be a result of them expanding their voting body. They recently had 6,700 voting members in 2017. It is now up to around 10,000 voting members there as well. Coralie Farge, who was nominated for The Substance, which we'll get to, she's the 10th woman to be nominated in the Best Picture category in the Academy's 97-year history. Only 3 women have won in those 97 years. That's Jane Campion from Power of the Dog, which I like. I know a lot of people push back on that movie. Chloe Zhao won for Nomadland, and Catherine Bigelow, of course, won for The Hurt Locker, famously sitting in front of her ex-husband, James Cameron. Netflix, speaking of Netflix with Emilia Perez, they walked away Thursday morning with 16 nominations. They beat all the big studios. Universal had 25 in total, but 12 of those came from Focus Features, their art film division. So there's a little bit of a parsing out of that and splitting of hairs in that way. Emilia Perez was also the most nominated non-English language film in Oscar history. Roma and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had held the record at 10. Now it comes in at 13 with Emilia Perez. And of course, we know with the Oscar nominations, there was conversations about the ceremony being possibly a telethon or a charity or having firefighters showing up. Certainly Jeff and I spoke about that last week. Well, they pretty much rejected all that. They're going to do a straight up ceremony. And I think there will obviously be moments to honor the firefighters, moments to respect people who lost loved ones and lost property during the fires in LA. So there will be segments of that, I'm sure. And for those of you young people, because a lot of people have been saying you're not taking into account streaming services in terms of numbers and who's watching and how many people are watching, this is going to be screened on Hulu. So you will be able to watch the Oscars on Hulu for the first time ever. And if you go back and watch an old Collider Movie Talk or Collider Mailbag, you'll find John Rocha saying years ago, you need to start streaming the Oscars in order to get young people involved, in order to get young people to watch, and in order to get people to watch, because not everyone wants to sit and watch it on ABC. Some people like to watch it on their phone. Some people like to watch it in the car or what have. Not that I advocate you watching something in the car, but some people like to do that. So that's the situation there. All right. So we got 232 of you watching me live. Thank you so much for joining me live. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell button. And as we go along, leave your comments on the conversations that we're having and on the nominations that we're having. So let's take a look at this thing. What's this? What's going on? All right, let's take a look at this. Somebody's making a shout out to Fernandez. I don't know why. So, but let's start. Let's start with Best Picture. I think that's where we need to start. Let's take a look at the nominees here. Anora, The Brutalist. I should drink something. Clearly, my throat is still waking up. I'm not a coffee person, but I am an iced tea person. All right, so let's start over. Best Picture, Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. So what an interesting collection of films. What are the films that are missing here? I would say in the snubs category, we are missing September 5th here, September 5, which I think is an exceptional film. Some people felt that Sing Sing should have been nominated for Best Picture. That is not here. Another picture that a lot of people thought maybe could have been nominated, especially me, Nosferatu is not in this, and Challengers and Queer. These are all the films that are shut out from this situation. So really surprising to see that happening here. Oh, let me move this up here. There we go. That's the right way. All right. So yeah. So for me personally, I like this batch of nominees. And I think the Nickel Boys thing is really surprising. I know Jeff was kind of scoffing at the Nickel Boys thing, but he did say that, oh, I don't know how it's going to get nominated. Well, it was nominated, and there you go. So really, that's a bit of a surprise on this one. But I'm upset that Nosferatu didn't get nominated. I'm upset that September 5 didn't get nominated. Not so much Challengers. I kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to get nominated, even though I think it's a fantastic film. But it's a shame to see it not get them. But I am surprised that Queer didn't break through and get nominated for Best Picture. Usually, an exploration of a gay relationship, or exploration of gay topics and themes, especially ones that are well done by Luca Guadagnino, usually get love from the Academy. So I was really surprised to see Queer kind of get mostly completely shut out, actually, from the entire nominations, because we're going to get to the Daniel Craig snub in just a second when we talk about Best Actor. But Best Picture overall here, again, I'll bring it up. Yeah, what would I have taken out? I love that Dune Part 2 got nominated, because I think people just forget about that movie, and it drives me insane because it is fantastic. I would have moved out Emilia Perez. I actually would have, for Nosferatu or for September 5. I appreciate those movies much more. I'm Still Here is a big surprise nomination, because that's also a foreign film, a Brazilian film, and that got into the nomination. So clearly more of a global approach at times with some of these nominations we've seen recently on the Best Picture side. It doesn't just default to Best International Feature. So maybe I move out Nickel Boys as well for Nosferatu or September 5, but those are the two that I would move out. But overall, I think this is a very strong list of nominees for Best Picture, and a lot of different genres here, a lot of different styles and types of nominees here that I think are fantastic to take a look at here as well. So that's the Best Picture side of things. My prediction is The Brutalist. I think The Brutalist absolutely takes this one. It is growing, and that ridiculous AI controversy, I don't think is going to affect The Brutalist at all in terms of its abilities to win Best Picture. So I think that's a good situation there overall. Hey, Lavis says, I don't get the hype for Challengers, way underwhelming. I couldn't disagree with you more. I thought Challengers was fantastic. I thought it was sexy. For those of us who remember being young and being athletes and being, like having that kind of sexual combustion in our lives, I think that film really captured something fantastic. And the way they portrayed tennis, I thought was really well done. And September 5 was a great exploration of what happened at Munich, the Munich Olympics in 1972. If you guys haven't seen this one, it is a tight, really enjoyable 90 minutes, intense, attention-filled 90 minutes of a film that I highly recommend. And John Magaro is becoming the actor's actor. I mean, he was in Past Lives. He's great on The Agency right now on Paramount Plus, and he was excellent in this movie. And I recently saw Overlord again and thought he was great in that as well. And I thought Nosferatu. I mean, I don't know why people have an issue with that movie. That movie is incredible. It's in my top 3 of last year, so I don't understand why it wasn't nominated for Best Picture. Maybe it's the horror aspect of it all. Maybe it's the mustache of Nosferatu. I don't know what the issue was with that movie and why people didn't nominate it. But I think Academy voters don't watch horror. I really do. There's old people who just go, "Oh, I don't want to get scared tonight," or young people maybe who are like, I'm kind of a scaredy cat. Well, then don't be a fucking voter. It's really, you should be able to watch everything and not have a bias. And it's so frustrating to see that happening with science fiction and horror when it comes to and comedies as well. Like people not taking comedies seriously as well. So, all right, let's move on to the next one here. Best Actor. We have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice here. So that's the massive surprise. Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. You have to say, I'll go back to, you have to say, him saying, hey, Variety, Actors on Actors, Variety wouldn't give me my own conversation because they didn't like the fact that I was portraying Donald Trump, and no other actor, their publicists wouldn't allow them to be on the show with me. That was in hindsight kind of a brilliant PR move to highlight his performance as Donald Trump in The Apprentice. And look, you guys know, if you follow me, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, and certainly the film does not necessarily paint Donald Trump in the best light. It does humanize him to a degree, but it doesn't paint him in the best light. But clearly the voters felt that Sebastian Stan's performance deserved a second look. Clearly they watched the film and were excited to nominate him. Now, there's also a very strong possibility, as some of you are discovering as this election cycle finished and we are in a post-Trump won the election world, that there are quite a few conservatives in Hollywood, and maybe some of them watched this movie and felt that they wanted to highlight their hero. So there's a lot of possibilities for why this got nominated. But I think the number one truth is that this is a fantastic performance from Sebastian Stan, who is becoming one of the best current actors working today. With that and A Different Man, you can't argue. Two completely different performances from Sebastian Stan. He was nominated for both of those performances at the Golden Globes, but I'm certainly very happy to see him being nominated for Best Actor here for The Apprentice, and that's going to bring more attention to that movie, and people are going to discover that movie and find themselves actually enjoying it once they get over the subject material that movie is all about. Some of the snubs for Best Actor, are there any? I guess Daniel Craig for Queer. I think a lot of people thought Daniel Craig had was a bit of a shoe-in for that nomination, but didn't end up getting it. But I mean, I think overall this is a good collection of actors. Yeah, I don't know that there's anyone else I would have moved out of this for anyone else. I mean, Sebastian Stan is that fifth one that could have gone either way, so he nabbed it, which I think is great. I think Brody deserves it, but that AI controversy right before the voting happened may affect his, or right before the final votes happen, may affect his winning this thing. So we will see. Maybe Chalamet comes in there. Coleman Domingo is a bit of a dark horse. If they nominated Sebastian Stan and they nominated Coleman Domingo, that means a lot of people have seen those movies in the Academy membership. So maybe, just maybe, Coleman Domingo can sneak out a victory here for Sing Sing. We will see. That's my dark horse in this one, but I think it'll be Brody, because I think people will get over that AI thing pretty quickly, for sure. All right, let's move on to Best Actress here. All right, so Best Actress in a Leading Role, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, which I think is great. I'm so happy to see Cynthia nominated here. So many people were falling all over themselves to praise Ariana Grande, and we're forgetting that Cynthia Erivo was the foundation of that movie, the heart of that movie, and delivered a stellar performance in that film. Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison for Honora, who I thought was fantastic in that movie, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. So this is the category that has a lot of controversy to it, because here are the snubs in that category, according to a lot of people. Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, Angelina Jolie for Maria, the Maria Callas movie, and Pamela Anderson for The Last Showgirl. Now, for me personally, I'm very happy the Academy came to its senses. It wasn't caught up in this PR, let's revisit the 90s and sanctify everybody and what the treatment they received. Because, listen, let's be honest. Pam Anderson is exactly the actress she's always been, all right? She delivered a good performance for Pam Anderson in The Last Showgirl, but it was certainly not a performance that should have come above any of these five women who are nominated, including Nicole Kidman and Angelina Jolie, who were snubbed. And I could probably throw in 3 or 4 other actress performances from the year that I felt deserved it much more than The Last Showgirl. She was in Baywatch. She was in Barbed Wire. This isn't some incredibly deep actress full of complexity and levels that society and the media was keeping down. Come on. It's these narratives that people fabricate nowadays because they go back in time and they think one thing or another. Now, does she deserve her flowers from a lot of people who felt maybe that she was a bit too typecast or stereotyped? Fine, yes, go ahead and feel that way. If you feel that way, do you feel she was, like reduced to just being eye candy? I totally respect that if that's your feeling about Pamela Anderson. Never mind that she leaned into it, benefited from it, was successful, made a lot of money from it. But I can understand if people were like, okay, I don't, we need to respect her a bit more. Totally fair. I'm not going to fight you on that. Do I think her performance was better than these 5 women? Hell no. Do I think her performance was better than Nicole Kidman, Angelina Jolie, and 4 other women I could probably name? If I had to? No, I don't think so. So to me, it's not that big of a snub. And I thank the Academy for being smart about this. This is the fucking Oscars, all right? This isn't the Golden Globes. This isn't some, critics organization or what. This is the fucking Oscars. It should have a certain level of nobility to it. But when I look at this list here, I'm very happy for Fernanda Torres, who was battling to get into this thing. Also, I forgot to mention Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. A lot of people felt her performance should have been in here as well. And I would probably move out Carla Sofia Gascon and put in Marianne Jean-Baptiste in there, and maybe even put in Nicole Kidman or Angelina Jolie in there if I could, if I was to move out Carla. But everyone else, I think, deserves their nomination. Mikey is so good, Mikey Madison in Anora. That's a film that it can hold up to multiple rewatches. And Demi Moore in The Substance, I've seen that 3 times now. I hope she wins. This is mine. My belief is that Demi will win. There's a very strong possibility that Carla wins it, but I hope Demi wins it because, I think I just feel like she delivers a much better performance overall. And Fernanda Torres, though, I think is the dark horse of that category because she has been coming on, getting awards in critics organizations, getting the Golden Globe. There is a possibility that Fernanda slides in here and takes the Academy Award. And that I think would surprise a lot of people if she jumped in there. So, but Cynthia Erivo could do it as well. That's a very strong possibility. As you saw, Wicked, 10 nominations, burning it up at the box office, incredible numbers on VOD, and certainly people love that movie. And it's being generations of that movie of people are watching that movie. Yeah, and I wasn't that impressed with Carla's performance. I actually wasn't, and I think she's good in the movie. I just don't know if she's one of the top 5 best performances of the year. And so you have to ask yourself, is this a bit of a, political, let's nominate this trans actress, let's give her flowers, let's get her into this situation. So there's a possibility of that. But of course, you always have to create space that a lot of people in the Academy felt she delivered a wonderful performance. So, I'm not trying to begrudge her that at all. I just think for me personally, I don't put her in the top 5 best performances of the year. She's in the top 10, but not in the top 5 for sure. But, in the end, that's what it is with that category. So let's move on here let's move on to Best Director. So what we have here is Jacques Audiard, the French director there for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, Coralie Farge for The Substance, and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. A good collection of directors, but who is fucking missing? Denis Villeneuve. Now, I don't know what Denis did. I don't know why does Denis have pictures of the Academy and compromise? I don't understand why Denis Villeneuve cannot get respect from the Academy. It is super frustrating. This is one of the greatest filmmakers working today, period. And I would like to hand Dune Part 2 to those 5 directors who've been nominated. And let me see what they create in Dune Part 2. All these people didn't want to give him love for Dune Part 1 because then it's a Part 1. We got to wait for Part 2. Well, Part 2 is nominated for Best Picture. Part 2 is my favorite film of the year last year, the best film of the year last year, right above The Brutalist. And for me personally, and I am just so frustrated that Denis Villeneuve cannot get a fair shake from the Academy. Now, who would I move out? I would absolutely move out Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez. Doesn't mean the film wasn't incredibly well directed. It was. What he was able to do and the musical numbers and the weaving in and out of this kind of stuff. Yes, 100%. The musical numbers, all of that, really well done. The costume design, the way the lighting was set up for a lot of these shots certainly deserves consideration. But I would absolutely move him out for Denis Villeneuve, or for another nominee that was snubbed. That's John M. Chu for Wicked. That's right. Don't adjust your sets. John M. Chu for Wicked was not nominated for Best Director. Now, what would you move out for John M. Chu? Maybe James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. Now, look, I like A Complete Unknown. It's in my top 10 of the year of last year. I thoroughly enjoyed A Complete Unknown, but do I think this is an incredibly well-directed, massively well-directed, notably well-directed movie? No, I don't think that. I think it's a well-directed film, but I don't think it's a top 5 well-directed film, right? I would absolutely move Denis Villeneuve and John M. Chu into the category, because what they were able to do with the scope of the movies they directed is incredible. And so to have them not be nominated, I think, is a bit of a crime. Whereas A Complete Unknown, I like it. It's a good biopic, but there's nothing really phenomenal about the direction in that movie when you compare what they did in Wicked and what John M. Chu did in Wicked. And somebody like me who's never watched the stage musical, I walked in with my arms folded and I was blown away by what John M. Chu did directing wise, both in the pacing, in the cinematography, in the performances he got out of these two leading young ladies, and all the things that come with that film. And I think the same way about Dune Part 2. I thought Denis Villeneuve got an incredible film out of his cinematographer, his production designer, costume designer, the performances across the board, the pacing and the editing of this movie, and the emotional resonance and emotional impact of Dune Part 2, and that ending that leaves you in a place of like, wow, hero worship and the dangers that it can lead to. Never mind that he weaved from color to black and white so seamlessly in that movie that worked so well, and just told a massive story that felt connectable in a small way, but also overwhelming in its scope. And I thought that deserved a better situation for him. So I don't know what it is about Denis Villeneuve. I don't know why he gets snubbed. It's just mind-blowing to me. Yes, Captain Price says Sean Baker wrote, edited, and directed Anora. Exactly. That's why I'm not saying shit about Sean. I think Sean directed a hell of a film in Anora. And you might say to yourself, oh, that's about as simple as A Complete Unknown. And no, it isn't. There's a lot he does as a director in the movie in evoking the moments, the situations, the circumstances, the areas, and the performances here that I think Sean deserves an incredible amount of credit for what he did there as well. All right, let's move on to another, because I'm trying to keep this under an hour. I don't know if I'll make it, but we'll see. Best Supporting Actor here. Let's take a look. And by the way, there's 300 of you joining me right now. Thanks so much for joining me live on the channel today for this conversation. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel down below and hit that bell button as well. I put my face on the screen while I say that. Subscribe and hit that bell button. All right. So, actor in a supporting role. We've got, speaking of Anora, we've got Yura Borosiv. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. For Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Now, before I go forward, I forgot to tell you who I think is going to win here in directing. I think it's going to be Brady Corbett, but don't be surprised if either Coralie Farge or Jacques Audiard slides in there as a dark horse to win Best Director. But I think it should absolutely go to Brady Corbett for The Brutalist. Now, back to Best Supporting Actor here. This is a good list of actors. I'm really happy to see Yura in here because I thought Yura did a wonderful job in Anora, standing out. Kieran Culkin, there's nothing Kieran Culkin does in that movie that he hasn't done in Succession for 4 seasons of Succession. Literally, there's no emotional beat. There's no emotion. There's no facial reaction. There's no decision. There's nothing he doesn't do in A Real Pain that he hasn't done at some point in Succession. So I respect the nomination, but I don't know that anything he did necessarily would have made me nominate him for Best Supporting Actor. Edward Norton, I think, delivered one of the most restrained performances of his career, and it was so effective. I mean, this is something akin to a Moonrise Kingdom, but even more so. It's such a different color on Edward Norton that I was very captivated by him in the movie. And when he has that moment, when he freaks out near the end, it is such a shocking moment that you forget that Edward Norton can play this kind of thing in his sleep. Because he did so well in the movie, when that moment happens, it's so much more devastating and striking and shocking. Jeremy Strong, great to see him nominated for The Apprentice. Again, this PR campaign for The Apprentice deserves all kinds of credit. The underdog, the forgotten, the banished, and people swing around and vote for The Apprentice. So that is pretty surprising, and I love Jeremy Strong. And I think what Jeremy Strong did in The Apprentice, there are some new things that he didn't do in Succession. So I love the fact that both of them are nominated opposite each other. But I think Jeremy delivered a performance that was something you had not seen at all in his 4 years on Succession, 4 seasons on Succession. But I think Guy Pearce, for me, Guy Pearce is who should win here. I think Guy Pearce is fantastic in The Brutalist. His journey is almost as incredible as Adrian Brody's journey in the movie, and what he does in the second half of the movie is utterly shocking, just shocking. But the way he has built that character up, when that moment happens, you go, yeah, I could see a person like this doing that out of a desire to reinforce his power and reinforce his status and his control of that situation. So I think Guy Pearce should absolutely be the winner for Best Supporting Actor in this one. So that's the way I look at that kind of thing. All right, let's move on to Best Supporting Actress here. Let's look at it. Actress in a supporting role. Monica Barbaro. What a great surprise. What a great surprise to see her being nominated for A Complete Unknown. This is so good. She's so great as Joan Baez. She doesn't get enough to do in the film, which is so frustrating, but clearly she did enough to get nominated, and I'm happy to see her being nominated here. Ariana Grande for Wicked. A lot of people expected that nomination, so congratulations to Ariana getting a Oscar nomination. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. Very happy to see that. I think a lot of people were not sure that she would get nominated for this. Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. I know a lot of people were upset that her name was even being considered for this role or for this nomination, but I thought she did incredible. And people are like, oh, she had one scene. That's all it fucking takes. Okay. That's all it fucking takes, people. And then Zoe Saldana and Emilia Perez. I think Zoe is the odds-on favorite to win here. But don't be surprised if Felicity pulls a upset here, or even Ariana maybe sliding in there. We know this with Best Supporting Actress. There are always surprises. There are always people who pop up out of nowhere and win. Mercedes Rule for The Fisher King. Marissa Tomei, of course, famously for My Cousin Vinny. So you just never know in Best Supporting Actress what's going to happen there in that category. But I'm very happy again to see Monica Barbaro. Maybe I don't think there's enough that Monica does in that movie to get to win or to upset the nominees. But that category is so up in the air, you just never know who is going to win that one. But I think Zoe is the odds-on favorite, and I kind of have to go with Zoe myself personally. But I would be very happy to see who to see Felicity get it, or to see Monica get it, even though I don't think he's going to get it. But I think it's between Ariana personally and Zoe. So that's kind of how I look at that. So, but one of the nominees, one of the snubs rather, for Best Supporting Actress, a lot of people felt was Selena Gomez. I have to say this. I like Selena Gomez as an actress. Do I think she delivered a great performance in Emilia Perez? No, I don't think she deserved to get nominated in the top 5 for the Oscars. I don't. So I don't really see it as a snub, but I know some people do see it as a snub. I see people saying also that Jamie Lee Curtis in The Last Showgirl is a bit of a snub. Jamie got her Oscar. Jamie got her Oscar. The other ones here delivered stronger performances that are in the nominations here. So I really don't have a problem with any of the actresses that were nominated in Best Supporting Actress. I think they all deserve to be nominated. I don't think there's really anyone else that I would have made. Oh, maybe Margaret Qualley. Maybe Margaret Qualley in The Substance. A lot of people talking about Demi Moore, but Margaret Qualley is incredible in The Substance as well. So maybe I don't know who I move out. Maybe Monica Barbaro, even though I'm really happy she got nominated. I would argue that Margaret Qualley has more to do, more emotions to navigate, more situations and scenarios to show her arc and her story in the Substance than Monica Barbaro does in A Complete Unknown. That's one of my main criticisms of A Complete Unknown is that both her and Elle Fanning, there's not enough for them to do in relation to Chalamet's Dylan that that really solidifies the relationships between them as strongly as it should. I know the Elle Fanning, there's a great emotional moment near the end, but I would have liked more for both of them to do in that film personally. But, it is what it is when you look at that situation there. All right, let's move on to Best Original Screenplay. What we have here is Honora by Sean Baker, The Brutalist by Brady Corbett, Mona Fastvold, A Real Pain by Jesse Eisenberg, September 5, written by Moritz Bender, Tim Feldbaum, co-written by Alex David, and The Substance, written by Coralie Farge. So, oh wait, did I say who? I did say who was going to win. All right, so for this one, I think it's down to Honora or The Brutalist. Although September 5 coming in here, this might be... Actually, it's really hard. This one is actually really hard because you could argue The Substance. Really, The Substance is so well written. By the way, Dennis Quaid is, I think, a bit of a snub as well. I thought Dennis Quaid was great in that film. Could have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination. This is a tough one. It'll probably go to The Brutalist, but sometimes with original screenplay, they want to encourage young directors, young writers who are coming in with their first feature. So Sean Baker could be the underdog here and come in and get this victory. Although September 5 could get the victory, of course, because it's a film dealing with anti-Semitism, dealing with what happened there in 1972. And they create a character who was not there in 1972 to be a big focal point of the movie. So there is a lot of ingenuity in the writing there to make that character work and make it feel seamless and organic in the situation. But I also think the writing in The Substance here is incredible. So there's a lot to say for what Coralie Farge did in that movie and taking us on the journey that she takes us on. And those final 20 minutes, I know a lot of people are like, oh, they went too far. I don't think it went too far at all. I think she went exactly where she needed to go, because sometimes you got to take people and shove their faces into the mirror to get them to really see what's happening. And I thought those final 20 minutes were, well, now that I've really artistically laid it out, for those of you who are smart enough to pick up what I'm saying, let me address the other people who maybe aren't smart enough to get what I'm getting at with this movie. And those final 20 minutes really shoved your face in it. So I think the writing throughout that movie is stellar as well. So these are very strong nominees for Best Original Screenplay. And I could see it going to any of them, but let me say The Brutalist, but with Honora as a dark horse and a surprise winner, maybe. So we will see on that one. All right, Best Adapted Screenplay. Let's move on to this one here. A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys. There you go. Another nomination for Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Very happy to see Sing Sing nominated here. Nickel Boys, a bit of a surprise nomination. That's great to see. Emilia Perez, Conclave, A Complete Unknown. I think Conclave is going to get it. I don't think it's going to win in any of the other categories, but I think it is going to get nominated for it. And look, speaking of, I didn't even mention this snub for director. Speaking of Conclave, Edward Berger was not nominated for Conclave. That is incredibly surprising. Yet again, incredibly surprising. So I think we need to expand the categories, man. I really do. I know Jeff gets upset about it, but I really don't care. These categories need to be expanded. We need to get between 5 to 10 nominees. There has to be 5 to 10 nominees, right? Even if it's 8 or 7 or 6 or 9 or 10, I'm fine with that, but we need to get more than 5. There were some incredible directing performances, or direction rather, that was not nominated, that should be nominated. So Edward Berger in Conclave was is phenomenal nomination, phenomenal job there as a director. So yeah, I think Conclave gets the adapted screenplay here, but don't be surprised if Emilia Perez comes in and sneaks it out and gets the victory. Maybe even Sing Sing could be an underdog in this one. I don't think A Complete Unknown or Nickel Boys will get it. But I do think Emilia or Sing Sing is the dark horse, but I give Conclave the possibility of winning that one. All right, let's move on to cinematography here. The Brutalist, Lol Crawley, Doom Part 2, Greg Fraser, Emilia Perez, Paul Gilholm, Maria Ed Lackman, and Nosferatu finally getting nominated for something of a higher worth here in terms of, in my opinion, for Jaron Blaschke for cinematography there, and he certainly did a great job. But who is missing from these nominees? I would say, or who's snubbed? I would say Wicked. I think that is a situation where I'm supremely surprised that Alice Brooks was not nominated for cinematography. I mean, you can't argue that the look and the vibe of that film is helped greatly by the cinematographer. Yes, the costume design, the production design, the set design is all incredible, but the fact that the cinematography is such an essential part of that, of making that movie a success, and it wasn't nominated, I'm very surprised by that. I would have loved to have seen that film get nominated. But these are great choices. I mean, I would move Maria out probably. I can't deny the cinematography of Emilia Perez. That is an incredibly fascinating and eye-catching movie, and the cinematography there, I think, is fantastic. The Brutalist, Doom Part 2, all great stuff. And Nosferatu, I love that it's nominated. So I would probably move Ed Lackman out for Maria and move Alice Brooks in for Wicked. That would be my decision there when you look at cinematography. So, this is a deceptively good year for movies. Not a great year for movies, but I certainly would say that it's a damn good year for movies. And so the fact that there are so many that could be nominated and weren't, I think, speaks volumes about how good these movies were. And I don't mean like you're trying to make them get nominated. They deserved to be nominated and were not. So let's see. Let's move on. Animated feature film. Very happy to see Flow getting nominated here. Inside Out 2 got nominated. Memoir of a Snail got nominated. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Shout out there to my brother Marshall over there at Netflix. Wallace and Gromit got nominated. And The Wild Robot got nominated. This is a very, very strong animation category. I'm definitely going to talk about this with Michael Vogel on the Geek Buddies and see what he feels about this category, and Shannon as well, of course, as a writer of animation. But this is a very strong category. You would think Inside Out 2 has the inside track, could win this thing, probably win for Pixar and Disney, but you can't discount Flow, and you certainly can't discount The Wild Robot. I think both of those films can pull upsets here for best animated feature. It is incredible to see that being part of, to see this animation category be so strong. And you could argue there's probably two or three other films that came out that were nominated, that were animation films that could have been nominated, could have been in this top five, or this category of five, that should have been in this category. So again, as we expand, as more and more films come into play, as more and more international films, Flow is nominated not only for just best animated feature, it's nominated for best international feature because it is a French film. As more and more of these films get considered by the Academy, as the Academy grows in membership, as the number of films from different countries come into consideration, as more independent films are being made because they're being made through streaming, through these streaming services, and being considered for awards, we have to expand these categories. It's getting so annoying to all these traditionalists who are like, no, it should just be the five. Just the five, the snootiness of it all. Get out of here. It should absolutely be anywhere between 5 and 10 if the votes support it. You know, you have to get a certain number in order to qualify to be nominated. I think this is another situation where more animated films could have made the cut here and gotten the Oscar love and credit. And shouldn't the Oscars be about supporting and uplifting great movies? Well, if you limit the number to 5, I think now when you've expanded the number of movies that can be considered, then I think you're doing a disservice to a lot of up-and-coming filmmakers who could get an Oscars nomination and have that lead to much more in their career have that lead to more opportunities, have that lead to better pay for them because they got Oscar nominated so they can negotiate a better salary. There's all kinds of possibilities when you get that little Oscars nomination thing near your name. So as for who I think will win, I do think Inside Out 2 is going to take it just because it's a popular film and it is an American. You could argue it's an American award, the Oscar. But I would not be surprised if The Wild Robot or Flow pulls an upset and gets the win, because both of those are excellent movies. Did I say who was going to win in the cinematography? I think it's going to be Dune Part 2 or The Brutalist. I didn't say it was going to. I think that's what's going to win. But don't be surprised if Nosferatu pulls an upset there. So I just want to make sure I said that. All right, last category to get into, that is Best Original Score. The Brutalist here for Daniel Bloomberg, Conclave for Volker Bertelmann, Emilia Perez from Clement Ducol and Camille, Wicked, John Powell and Stephen Schwartz. Good to see that. The Wild Robot here for Chris Bowers. Wow, The Wild Robot. Thank you to the people over there the studio for Wild Robot. They sent me the double LP. I think it's a double LP or the LP of Wild Robot, which I have, and that score is gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I love that score, and so I'm very happy to see it nominated. The Conclave score is incredible. The Brutalist is my favorite, and I think The Brutalist should win, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Conclave or The Wild Robot pull an upset here. Emilia Perez is interesting. I think that should be moved out score-wise. I know the songs are different from the score. So I would probably move Emilia Perez out, and I would move in challengers. I think that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score is incredible, and the fact that it wasn't nominated is a bit of a shock for me. I think that is a massive snub for me personally, so I would have liked to have seen that be in there and move Maria Perez's score out of there as well. But a good collection of scores here, a good collection of both established composers and up-and-coming composers, so you can have a taste of different types of scores from these different types of movies that get you excited to see these composers again when they come forward with more work from them. So those are all the nominations. So let's go back to a couple of these to hit some of these snubs. A lot of people felt Denzel Washington should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I love Denzel in Gladiator Part 2. I think Denzel is fantastic in the Gladiator Part 2. Do I think the fact that he chose a Coliseum's worth of scenery, do I think that should be a nomination? No, I don't. And I love Denzel. Love what he did in the movie. The movie is a disappointment. He is fun in the movie, but he's so anachronistic that it makes no sense to me, the stuff he's doing in the film. And he's just having fun, right? Now you can say, oh, as an actor, that doesn't mean he's not doing great work. Of course. But it doesn't radiate that level of nomination for me. I don't think it should have been nominated. I think it would have been more of a populist nomination than an actual nomination for the work. Not that Denzel didn't do great work. I just don't think it's Academy level great work for myself personally. On the Best Supporting Actress side, I didn't mention this. Did I mention Zendaya? I thought Zendaya did a great job in Challengers. I mean, I would argue Mikey Faced and Josh O'Connor were also fantastic in Challengers. And again, I think he should have been nominated for Best Director, Luca, for that film. That's my favorite film of his. And so I think the Zendaya one, though, is the big snub from that movie. I do think Best Picture, Best Director should have been nominated, but the bigger snub is Zendaya. I think she's incredible in that film, navigating the relationships with both of the guys and where she ends up by the end. She is electric in that movie. She is powerful in that movie. And I have to admit, I'm not always on the Zendaya train and like everyone falls all over themselves to tell you how great she is. I don't always see it in some of the performances, but in this one, absolutely. I think she was stellar in that movie, and I think she should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Already talked about Margaret Qualley, Daniel Craig, John M. Chu, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. Can't recommend that film enough. Sing Sing, very happy to see that nominated for Best... that should have been nominated for Best Picture. That's a snub as well. Sing Sing should have been nominated for Best Picture. Maybe you move out. I'm Still Here or Nickel Boys for Sing Sing. Maybe A Complete Unknown as well, even though I do love that movie. I could see that there's a uniqueness to Sing Sing and the way it was done that I think could have gone in there and taken a nomination for Best Picture. So that is a shame for me for Sing Sing and September 5. Again, I said that already. And one last, I didn't get to international features because I haven't seen a lot of the international features yet, but Kneecap, a lot of people felt was snubbed for international features. So that's a shame to not see Kneecap being in there as well. Yeah, you guys, I'm not as knowledgeable on best sound, best editing. This one, I can't speak to that. So I didn't want to insult anybody who knows about this stuff very deeply and knows what to look for in those kinds of things. So I didn't get into those categories, but maybe we'll get into those categories with me and Jeff, or maybe I'll do a second part tomorrow of these nominations and discuss those sections as I read more from other people's analysis of the sound and what have you and editing and what have you in this one. But I hit 11 categories in 1 hour. So I feel very accomplished that I got 11 categories in 1 hour. So let's take a look. I haven't, as Adam asks, will you go over the best film in foreign language? Flo getting the nod was a surprise, but Seed of the Sacred Fig was so good, right? Yes, I haven't seen all the foreign entries, and I have those queued up on the app. So I will definitely be watching those to see where I land on those. So I didn't want to talk about those overall. But I will say this. I thought this was a fantastic collection of nominations. I think there's a lot of strong movies in these categories. And I'm happy to see this as 2024 wrap. This is kind of like the official end of the 2024 movie season, because there is a lot coming in 2025. And we got some interesting situations going on for 2025 when those nominations get announced next year. Let's hit some of these Streamlabs and Super Chats. Julius Wyatt saying, what did Denis do to the Academy? James Mangold? Yeah, I think we covered that, Julius, and I agree with you. I would easily move James out to put Denis in. I think Denis did a wonderful job with Dune Part 2. I think Mangold has directed better films than A Complete Unknown, even though it's a well-directed film. I think there are better films he was nominated for and should have been nominated for. Eternity Forever says, how many does Dune take away this year? Maybe one or two. I don't know the other categories right now that Dune is nominated in. Let me see if I can look real quick on Twitter and see if Dune, if they put up Dune nominations for the Oscars. Let me see if we've got. Okay, so it received Best Picture, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, Best Sound, Best Visual Effects. I don't think it'll get Best Picture, even though I think it should. I think cinematography is a very strong possibility. Production design is best sound. I think they're absolutely odds-on favorite for best sound. If I'm just going off of what I remember from the movie and the sound of that movie, even though I just said I'm not the biggest, but there's certain things that stick with you. Certainly, the sound of that movie sticks with me. Best visual effects, I think, is a very strong possibility. So maybe three out of the 5 is possibility, but don't be surprised if it's only 1 or 2. But 3 is a very real possibility for Dune Part 2. Mr. Brinkman says, do you think this is a wicked sweep? No, not at all. I think the sweep was them getting nominated. Sorry, y'all. The throat was getting dry here. I think them getting 10 nominations, that's your sweep. That is what the Academy did for them, giving them 10 nominations. I don't know how many of those 10 they're going to win, to be honest with you. Would I like to see Cynthia win? Sure. Do I think Ariana's going to win? I actually don't, but could be an upset there. But I think maybe they win 3 or 4 of the categories, maybe 5, in my personal opinion. Let me see if I can see what the Wicked nominations are. Okay, so Best Original Score, I don't think it should. Best Makeup and Hairstyle, that could win. Costume Design, it could absolutely win. Ariana Grande, I don't think it's going to win, but you never know. Production Design, maybe, because I think the production design is stellar in that movie. Film Editing, maybe. Sound, I don't think so. Visual Effects, I don't think so. Cynthia Erivo, I think Demi's got that locked. Best Picture, no. So maybe 4 or 5 out of their nominations, they have a real possibility to win, but the other 5, I think they're out on. So that's my answer there for Wicked. Jody Money says, I really loved Sing Sing. Oh, thank you for the kind donation, Jody. Very, very kind of you. bummed it didn't get more love from the branch it needed. Actors, what do you think were its flaws? Do you think actors didn't rally to it because it relied on so many actors not in the Academy? Yeah, I think that's an element of it, Jody, for sure, that there are a lot of new actors who weren't, because the people in the movie are playing themselves from this story. So, and it's I think that's part of it. I think Coleman getting nominated was great. It's a shame that Clarence Macklin didn't get nominated for his performance, because I thought he was fantastic and his journey that he went on in the movie. But I wasn't surprised he didn't get nominated because, as you said, these are newer actors and it's a strong year for performances. And so I think Clarence would have had to have really delivered a standout, drop dead performance that the Academy couldn't ignore to break into that category. So I'm not necessarily surprised, but yes, I do think that was a part of it. I also think there weren't enough rallying cries from actors to get people to watch Sing Sing. I also think A24 did a fucking terrible job of promoting that movie. A24 sank their own movie with Sing Sing. They sank it. They should have done a better campaign, and they didn't do a better campaign, and that's what ended up costing Sing Sing. So there's probably a number of factors, Jody, that contributed to that, but absolutely, I think that's I think two of the things you hit on were spot on. Cowboys fan 92, what's up, buddy? He says, hey, John, I'm so glad Wiki got all the nominations. Yes, I would swap out James Mangold as well for John M. Chu. By the way, his Viewfinder book about his life is such a good read. Highly recommend it. Oh, thanks, man. I will absolutely take a look at that. He goes on to say, I love all the actresses, but something's telling me Ariana's going to get that award once again. Love those films, just going off my gut feelings. Yeah, I think Ariana getting nominated is what the Academy did. I really would be surprised if she won. But again, I reiterate this. Best Supporting Actress is always a toss-up. You just never know. So she could walk away with that Oscar. Maybe they want. Maybe a lot of people like the fact that she's a young up-and-coming actress. They like her talent. She is multidimensional and certainly very talented in multiple areas as a performer. So maybe they love what she did in the movie because a lot of people loved her comedy and a lot of people expected her not to be that great. And she was so excellent in the film. So it could lead to her winning, possibly. He also says, I see Flo or Wild Robot getting it over Pixar. That's a very strong possibility, depending on the voting body. And as the voting body has gotten a bit more open to international films, Flo is a very strong possibility. The Wild Robot, I think, is the real challenge because a lot of people love, and I mean love, the Wild Robot. So, and I think a lot of people loved Inside Out too. It isn't just a Pixar movie. Inside Out 2 delivers a very strong film here from Pixar. I would argue it's the best Pixar sequel ever, as it explores all the new emotions that Riley is going through, and then also makes a very touching commentary on the importance of friendship and the importance of self-care and mental health in teenagers, and young adults. I thought that was a really great job from Inside Out too. All right, Ewok says, so happy that Sebastian Stan was nominated. He gave not only one, but two of the best performances of the year with A Different Man and The Apprentice. I agree, Ewok. He was so good in both of those movies. So yes, very happy for Sebastian Stan. And I hope, although both of those movies didn't burn it up at the box office, I hope this gives Sebastian the nomination is really, and the love that he's getting for his performance is now building. I hope he gets a sense of satisfaction that his decisions were right. His compass was right to do both of these films and dedicate himself to delivering two wonderful performances in those movies. Because no matter where you stand as an actor or where you're at as an actor, it's always nice to be recognized by your peers. And it's always nice to hear people talk about your work. That's really important. Yes, he's got the money. Yes, he's Bucky. Yes, he's Marvel. But he's also an actor. And of course, that's what you want to have going on. That's why I think Alden Ehrenreich getting all that love for Oppenheimer was so great for him, because coming off of Solo, what happened with Solo, you want to have a little love from people in your respective places. Adam Jimenez said, I already talked about Adam. Sorry, Adam. The Cali Kid says, do an Oscar nom stream with Steve on the Cine-Files. Yeah, absolutely. Once we're going to have our own breaking down of the movies and our own reviews of the movies. We do an Oscars series. We were a little late doing ours last year. We made a commitment to do it much more on time this year. So we will absolutely have that and a conversation. Once Steve has seen all the movies, which he hasn't, once he sees all the movies, we're going to have those conversations for sure. Eternity Forever says, Cynthia Erivo wins. She thinks she's Stormcast. No, I don't think she's the cast for Storm. I think a lot of black actresses have been named over the last few days. So it all depends what they want to do with Storm. It all depends the story they want to tell. So I think only Feige really knows the story they want to tell with Storm, and of course the writers of the X-Men movie. So I don't know that Erivo is necessarily the choice, but wouldn't be surprised to ride the wave of this. And certainly she's a very powerful and commanding actress. But I don't know if I necessarily see her as a love interest for Black Panther. Would they explore that in that way? I don't know, like it is in the comics. So I would be surprised, but no, I wouldn't. How can I say this? I wouldn't be surprised, but I think there's a better actress to, not better. How can I say it? A more appropriate actress for for the story they want to tell. Let's see here. Samo says, you think Dune 2 would have got more if it came later? Yeah, maybe. But again, it's a science fiction movie. And the Academy has a real, how can I say this? Has a real blind spot when it comes to science fiction, respecting science fiction. You're like, oh, Substance is body horror. Yes, but it's a commentary on Hollywood. And Hollywood loves commentaries on Hollywood. They love to nominate commentaries on Hollywood. So I think that's what helped The Substance get nominated. Yes, it's an excellent film, but I think that's what helped to get nominated. So yes, maybe if Dune 2 comes out a little bit later, because another snub you could argue is Austin Butler in Dune Part 2 for what he did, right? I mean, you could see him getting nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and he wasn't. I would absolutely move him in over Kieran Culkin. That's not even a question in my mind. That's not even a question in my mind in that way. So, yeah, I think maybe later it would have rode some wave to nominations, possibly, but you got to let a film stand on its own. And unfortunately, it did get a Best Picture nomination, but I think it deserved much more, like Best Director for sure. But yeah, later on today, we're going to go live on the hot mic. Jeff and I are certainly going to have our comments and thoughts about all of these nominations. Let's see, just 2 more Streamlabs and we'll wrap up. Anonymous says, good morning, John. Thank you, Anonymous. Always love the content. Happy to see you happy about your Commanders. Yes, sir. Happy to see Nosferatu get love, but unfortunately, no Denis V for Best Director. Did not like Emilia Perez, so disagree with so many nominations. Yeah, Emilia Perez, I mean, GLAAD did not give it one nomination for its media awards. GLAAD, which is, the gay rights or the organization that fights for gay representation and wants respect for the gay community in all facets and all areas of the world, did not nominate it for one award. And that tells you how they feel about the portrayal of this trans storyline in this movie. So it's an interesting situation there with Emilia Perez. Is this Hollywood kissing its own ass thinking we're being progressive, or is it them really legitimately thinking that this is an excellent movie? So it's going to be interesting. So thank you for the Commanders love. And I agree with you on Denis Villeneuve, as I said already. Can you tell I'm running out of energy? I'm stumbling over my words. All right. Fredtastic said, thank you, Fred. If Sebastian Stan stands could stands for Stan, would Sebastian stand with stands? Sorry, couldn't help myself. Go Commanders. I think Sebastian Stan would stand with his stands if those stands were voters that could get him to the stand to receive the Oscar for his work, giving Sebastian Stan even more love from his stands. So yes, I absolutely agree with you. Sebastian Stan would absolutely stand with his stands to win the award. So thank you very much on that, Fredtastic. All right, we should wrap up there. A lot of you are dropping off already, so thank you so much for watching this live stream, my nominations, reactions to everything. I appreciate it madly. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button to see when we're dropping content like this. Just kind of got in the mood this morning to talk about it. Please make sure to join us today at 4 p.m. PT for the hot mic. Jeff and I are probably going to talk about our snubs, surprises, underdogs, predictions, and what have you from the Oscars. So we'll have some of that for you, as well as other stories going on in the world of entertainment. And of course, Geek Buddies at some point tomorrow, probably in the morning. We'll drop it by noon for you guys to watch that as well. I'm sure we'll cover some of the Oscar stuff. But let me know down below who you think's going to win, what your snubs were, what your surprises were. You don't have to agree with me. I love it when you don't agree with me. Let me know who you think should have won, or who you think might win, rather, who should have been nominated, who you want to see win, and what you think of the number of nominations for Emilia Perez compared to the other films that were in the category, were considered for awards here this year, and what you thought overall of this Oscars nominations. What's your feelings about all of them? let me know down in the comment section below. All right, thanks so much for joining me. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Follow me on @TheRochaSays on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Outlaw Nation show, or the Nation, or the Oscars nomination, or a reaction video. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And I'll talk to you soon.